Good afternoon, Guardians, and welcome to the first episode of This Week in Destiny, a weekly Destiny news segment airing every Tuesday covering all of the most interesting news from the past 7 days. We've got a lot of exciting things to cover today, so let's jump right into it. A few days ago, Bungie released their weekly update talking almost exclusively about all of the issues related to heavy ammo in Destiny. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of these issues, the basic idea is that every time your character died in the game, you would respawn with less heavy ammo than you previously had. Bungie's community manager Deej, or DJ, spent a portion of the update grilling one of their sandbox engineers, John Cable, a man who was first introduced to the community by explaining how he once fixed a 10-year-old bug. Unfortunately, I'm afraid at that rate we'll likely only see another half of a bug fixed by the time the Xbox Zero comes out. Now, to our more dislike-inclined viewers, I'd like to point out that last statement was what we call satire. We're all glad that Bungie seems to finally have found a way to preserve our precious purple ammo, but even so, you should still be taking measures to ensure that none of your ammo is unnecessarily wasted. Luckily for you, Reddit user Ax31 has compiled a short list of things you can do to maintain an appropriate munition stock. Next on our agenda is this week's weekly heroic and nightfall. This week it's the Archon Priest from Ishtar Sink on Venus. The weekly modifier is Void Burn, while the nightfall modifiers are Void Burn, Arc Burn, and Solar Burn, so all 3 damage boosts for the second week in a row. Now there are a ton of videos on YouTube covering strategies for each nightfall, but I stumbled upon one clip in particular that I thought was awesome from a channel called The Original CP9. In the video you can see what's possible to solo the boss by perpetually stunning him with a sniper rifle such as the Black Hammer or Icebreaker. Go ahead and click the annotation on the screen if you want to take a look. As always with the weekly reset, it's time to venture back to the Vault of Glass in Crota's End to pick up the loot that the boss has been keeping warm for you. If you plan on attempting Crota's End, might I recommend our guide to the normal and hard versions of the raid right here and here. Xur also came back this week with quite the surprise by selling the exact same 5-item loot table he sold just 2 weeks earlier. Surprise! Given that each item in Xur's inventory is supposedly randomly selected from a list of nearly every exotic in the game, the fact that he perfectly matched his wares from a previous trip to the tower is quite intriguing. A couple freelance mathematicians began crunching numbers in the Destiny subreddit and came up with a few possible percentages for the likelihood of such an event occurring. You can find a link in the description, but be warned, the posts are very long and very not about stuff other than math. Personally, I could only stomach a few posts because I'm not a huge nerd, and I had to prepare for my pretend news show in an online video game. Deej has since responded to the anger over Xur's items, as well as the fact that the exotic Jallarhorn rocket launcher has been conspicuously missing from his weekly visits. To this he says, quote, "Jallarhorn is the most popular ask that comes my way. I know you want it. I'll do my best to talk to the people who create the code that drives Xur and see if we can make him more valuable to you in the future." Looks like there might be some good news on the horizon for those of you who are yet to wield the mighty launcher, which means those of us who do have one will be forced to find something else that makes us stand out on Destiny LFG. Yesterday, the moderators over at the Destiny subreddit released a State of the Subreddit address, giving some cool stats about the submissions and asking for feedback. I'd be really interested to see if they expand the number of stats to compile since I find those pretty fascinating. 148 threads about heavy ammo since the latest expansion. The Destiny fanbase can be pretty persistent. We'll have a link to that in the description if you want to check it out. So each week I'd like to end the show by featuring something or someone who really stood out over the past 7 days, whether it be a video or someone who wrote a really touching Reddit post or a cake, whatever it is that positively contributed to the community in a really unique and memorable way. This week I'd like to showcase 2 contributions made by our fellow Guardians. First up is a fan-made Destiny Fireteam trailer created by No-Fi Gaming, using an excellent blend of in-game footage, cinematics, cutscenes, and Fireteam voice chat to deliver a truly fantastic action trailer for the game and its new Crota's End raid.
But it didn't last.
You might say the resulting video is really incredible. I'm so sorry. The second community contribution I'd like to show you is the insane PvP weapon spreadsheet created by Reddit user EXXTrooper. The amount of time it must have taken to compile all of this data is more than I can imagine, and it truly is an incredible resource for those of us who enjoy player versus player combat in Destiny. It even breaks down exactly how many bullets are required to defeat a player, based on each weapon whether it was a headshot or a body shot. Truly an incredible job. So that's it for the first episode of This Week in Destiny. If you want to learn more about any of the topics discussed in this episode, then make sure to check out the description below where you'll find links to all of the content we talked about throughout the show. And if you have any comments, then feel free to leave them below or hit us up on Twitter. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday on Raid Leader TV.